All right, we're here in the Porn Crush studio this evening with Elizabeth Schuyler. Surely you have heard of her by now, folks. She is really creating a buzz in the adult industry right now. Only about 5 or 6 scenes deep into her career, but a lot more are coming. She's great on social media. Check her out. We're going to learn a little bit more about her tonight. Elizabeth, thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself, just kind of your background, where you grew up, all that fun stuff.
Thanks for having me. So I was born, raised, and still live in LA County. Never left. Let's see. Kind of always a outgoing, wild teen, and didn't really like college that much. Got into cosmetology, got my license. In that, and then shortly after, I found out I was pregnant with my first kid. And so I've been kind of a stay-at-home mom ever since.
Right.
So yeah.
Let's backtrack just a little bit. You said you were kind of went through a wild party stage, I guess, in high school, college. Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So my parents kind of gave me the green light to kind of do whatever. I'm not saying that they were kind of like, have at it, do drugs, do this, but they were kind of like, well, we don't care what you do as long as you don't drink and drive. So I was like, after that, I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I was very sociable, partied a lot on the weekends, had a good time. Always just kind of been a sexual person. Lost my virginity when I was 15. And so... Yeah, I've always
went wild from there a little bit with it, or
yeah. I just always kind of been comfortable with it. I've never had a problem with it. It was never a taboo topic in my house. My parents were very open with me about it, and so yeah, I just I've always been kind of out there, and so
right. Well, I've got to think too, Elizabeth, you were pretty popular with the guys, in high school. Obviously your physique is very, impressive and hot and noticeable. I mean, what was that like, kind of in that 16 to 20 years old phase, in terms of potential?
It was great. I loved it. I really pressed the envelope when it came to what I wore to school, and I wasn't the type to really sleep around. Up until I met my now husband, I had only slept with 4 people prior to that. So I wasn't crazy all over the place, but I did enjoy having sex all the time. But yeah, I would really press the envelope. I would always get in trouble at school for what I wore. I always got calls home.
What would you wear?
Crop tops, too low of jeans, like the low-rise jeans, too short of skirts. I'd always be getting calls home. It was bad. My parents were like, stop.
I love it. You mentioned your husband. Obviously, your life probably changed, for the better when y'all met. Describe that, how that happened, and where you were at that point in life, and how.
So I was 18 when I met my husband. He's a few years older than me. We actually met through an ex-boyfriend of mine. Oops. Okay. And so we started dating, and then when I was 20 years old, I found out I was pregnant. So we were kind of put in a position like, oh my God, like this is serious. So and he really stepped up to the plate, and I'm forever grateful for that. He's the greatest father in the entire world, and just a really good guy, really hard worker, and just he's amazing.
Yeah, no, I had a chance to meet him recently, and wow, that was one of my favorite parts of the little Porn Crush pool party was talking to you. I made 2 really good friends that night. I think you said you were 20. Is that right? When you got pregnant?
Yeah, I was 20 when I got pregnant. I was 21 when I had my first. That was very scary. I was still living at home when I found out I was pregnant. So within the course of a month, I moved out to the house I'm at currently. Moved in, and I accidentally gave birth early. So
Mm-hmm.
all this life-changing stuff happened really,
Yeah.
really quick.
Right.
And it was super jarring, but totally worth it. And
At that point, you said you were in cosmetology school and you had to kind of
I had
drop out.
my license by that point.
Okay.
And I keep my license valid still till this day, just in case. I never let it go, because if not, you got to go through the whole process again of taking the tests and all that crap. So I always keep it valid, even though I haven't used it in about, or like 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So you spent quite a bit of time I guess, as a stay-at-home mom, right?
I do.
Before
Yes.
before you kind of entered this, you still are a stay-at-home mom, but now you're working in the adult industry. But
Yes.
were you kind of just thinking this is kind of what I'm going to be doing now for the
Yeah.
long
Um,
time?
I always tell myself, as long as my husband is okay with it and we're on the same page with it and it's not causing an issue in our marriage, then I'm cool with it. I'll keep doing it. I'll keep riding this train for as long as I can. And I always tell people, family comes first for me. So family first, then porn.
Right. I guess I'll just backtrack. I worded that wrong. I mean, did you kind of assume you were going to be just a stay-at-home mom for, you know, quite a while and then just not ever get into something like this? Like, I guess what I'm
I
saying is kind
never
of
thought I would be in this. Like,
yeah, that's
ever,
what
ever, ever. Like, I never thought I was going to get into this.
Mhm.
I still like think about it in my head and I'm like, oh my God. Like, and I totally live a double life. No one in my life knows, with the exception of my husband and a couple close friends.
Right.
Our family does not know. So I kind of like that though. It's kind of like, ooh, it's taboo. It's no one
Mhm.
knows type of thing. It's my secret double life. So I like it. It's cool. But I never thought I'd be doing this.
Yeah. And when we talked before, you said it was right around COVID,
Yes.
when all this kind of started to unfold. Share that
Mhm.
story with us about how this all started.
So COVID hit in March of 2020. My kids were forced out of school, and I was like, hell no, you guys are not going to stay home. This is not cool. Like, I'm not going to deal with this like 24/7 for months and months and months on end,
Mhm.
which ended up being 2 years. But
Yeah.
so I found a place that was able to take them in, like a daycare type of thing. And then I myself had a lot of downtime. The
Mhm.
gyms were closed, nothing was open. So I was like, well, what the hell am I going to do? So my husband introduced me to Chatterbait, and I was like, this is really cool. Like, he was like, is this something you'd be interested in doing? And I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. So I
Mhm.
started out under the name Triple D MILF, and I did that for a little bit. So I started in May of 2020, and then
Mhm.
I switched my name to my current name, Elizabeth Skylar.
Mhm.
And then in 2021, I started an OnlyFans, because everybody was like, do you have an OnlyFans? Do you have an OnlyFans? And I'm like, the hell is this? Like, what
Mhm.
is this OnlyFans? So when I first started OnlyFans, I wasn't necessarily successful right off the bat. It wasn't until I contacted Jack and Jill, and did a show with them, that my OnlyFans blew up.
Yeah.
And so OnlyFans is my main bread and butter.
Yeah, Jack and Jill, for people that don't know, very successful
Yes.
OnlyFans creators, a couple that puts out great content and is really well known. So they kind of got you, you kind of caught the bug a little bit, I guess, with them. And
Yes. They were my first ever threesome on camera. I had never done that before. I'd never had a threesome, even off camera. So this was like, whoa, like I was so nervous. Like, if you look really close in the video, like I'm shaking, because I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? But I ended up having a great time, and Jack and Jill are great people. And
Mhm.
I've done a few more shows with them since. And I always tell people that's a great, Jack and Jill are a great first thing to get into, because they're just the sweetest, most welcoming people ever. So
Yeah, yeah. No, I've heard great things about them. And
yeah.
so you spend a little bit of time mainly focusing on collabs, right? And then eventually you reach out to some studio type people to see if you can transition into pro work. Tell us
Yeah.
about.
So I was doing collabs with people. And then in June of this year, I contacted Shelby Black, who works he's the director for Naughty America. And
Yeah.
I thought I would never hear back from them. And I was in Dana Point at a wedding and he emailed me back and I was like, oh my God. So my first ever professional pro scene was with Naughty America in July of this year. And that was
Wow.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you how it felt being on camera for the first time, but you had done it, for your OnlyFans. But was there something about the studio environment that made it kind of
Yeah.
cool? Or
I was super nervous because I wanted to make a good impression. I'm like, I don't want to show up here and then be like, okay, this was not worth our time. This was not worth our money. I wanted to make sure that I performed and delivered and made sure that they were going to ask me back.
mm-hmm.
So, I was so nervous, but again, I have a preconceived notion of something in my head and that's not what it's usually like.
Yeah.
Everybody's so sweet and so accommodating and so welcoming. And so I've done another 4 scenes with Shelby Black for Naughty America.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've done 1 scene for Brazzers and 1 scene for Cherry Pimps.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And the browsers, I mean, it's funny because a lot of performers spend years in the business just hoping for the day they get to shoot for browsers, and
Yes.
some never get the chance. You were fortunate enough to get that opportunity 3 or 4 scenes
Yes.
in your career.
Shout out to
Just for
Kieran Lee.
browsers. And who did you shoot with for browsers, Elizabeth?
Yeah, shout out to Kieran Lee. He arranged it. He was the director. But
Yeah.
I shot with Manuel Ferreira and Sinatra Monroe, and it was an amazing experience. We were there literally all day. It was a big ad scene for Brazzers. But I had such a good time. I didn't want to leave. I was like, no, oh my God, I want this to end. And I'll
What was
never
so
forget
cool?
that day because it was the day of the, and I say this in quotations, hurricane,
Mm-hmm.
which was not.
Right.
So, but yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah. Well, you said you didn't want to leave. What was it that you loved so much? Was it just the rush?
I just vibed really well with everybody. I vibed well with Manuel and Sinatra and Peggy, who is a great liaison / makeup artist / hair artist. And just all the cast and crew were just great people.
Right.
I was like super bummed. I'm like, oh, we have to leave already. And everybody's like, yeah, we've been here for like 12 hours.
Yeah. Elizabeth, were you someone that, during that stint of mainly just being a stay-at-home mom, and even when you were a little younger before that, are you someone that's watched a lot of adult content and, but before you made this transition, did you know much about porn? Did you have favorite?
I kind of always idolized, I guess idolized the word. I always kind of idolized like naked chicks, like anybody in this, like in the adult industry. I loved like looking at Playboys and Penthouse and even Hustler. And I always thought like the women were so beautiful. And I always thought like people like Jenna Jameson and Tara Patrick and everybody was so gorgeous. I was like, oh my God, like I want to do that someday. But I never thought I would be in this position.
Yeah. So it seemed like a bit kind of a glamorous, cool thing to you. You looked at those people and thought, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Had you had much experience with girls or women, sexually before?
I didn't until my first experience with a woman was I was 26 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first experience. I happened to be in front of my husband and her boyfriend at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that felt very natural too. I didn't feel like, ugh. Like I like both, women and women are great too.
Absolutely. Some people get into this because they think it's a great career, which it can be. And some just also really love the sex and the opportunities to explore themselves sexually. Kind of where do you fall in that? I mean, are you really enjoying the kind of, I guess, sexual freedom you're getting to experience?
Yeah, I like that this is my double life and I love the sex. Like I enjoy it every single time. Like I've never had like a bad experience where I'm like, oh God, like I gotta get this shit over with. Like I've never had that before.
Yeah.
So I've always had a great time. So yeah, it's all around really fun for me. I always tell people, so far I have had a great experience with every single person that I've worked with. Everybody has been so
Yeah.
sweet and just professional and just great.
Yeah. I'm sure people too that might hear this story and that you're married and think it's so cool that you have this healthy relationship where
Mm-hmm.
you can go off and have this career and it's not really going to impact things at home.
Yes.
What's the key to making that work? Like,
Um, don't get caught up in emotions. I know that's kind of a cliche thing, but it's business, it's work. You can have fun and come on set and everything, but when you come home, um, you just leave work at the door and I try to show my husband um, appreciation and love, and so
yeah,
yeah.
he's probably your biggest supporter, I'm guessing.
He
That's
is. Yeah, and he is. He's never been like, I don't want you doing this, or I'm jealous of this person, or I'm jealous of that person. Like, he's super sweet, super supportive. He helps me a lot. He gives me a lot of advice, like things that I should do or should not do, and so yeah, he's great.
it's funny. I've been reading a lot of stories just in mainstream lately about the PTA mom that all of a sudden they found out about her OnlyFans, or the school teacher
Yeah.
that had to leave her job because they found out she was having an OnlyFans. Do you at all worry about things like that, or have you prepared
Honestly,
yourself for the
no.
day that people find out? Or
Honestly, no. And I think that even if someone did find out, I don't think that someone would have the balls to come up to me and say it to my face.
Mhm.
They could probably gossip all they want, but I mean, I tell people everything I'm doing is safe, sane, and consensual. And if
Mhm.
people have a problem with that, then, you know, and I say that to my husband all the time. I'm like, God, like, I must be the only one. He goes, oh no, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Like, you would be surprised how many women, at the school probably have an OnlyFans or do whatever on the
Mhm.
side.
Yeah.
So,
And the ones that may roll their eyes at you in public or something are probably the same ones that are ready to go home
oh,
and
yeah,
log on
for
to Pornhub
sure.
or something. You know what I mean? It's just huge, big
For sure.
hypocrite. But I do think things are shifting and people are starting to be much more open minded about sex work and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's really,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing too is, obviously you're kind of fall into the MILF category.
Hmm.
Um, which I think is great because I feel like that genre right now in the adult industry is so strong and popular. And when you look on Pornhub, some of the top ranked performers or MILF performers, uh, just kind of talk about how you've embraced that and
I
really,
love it. I know a lot of people don't like it. Everybody's like, ooh, I don't want to be called a MILF. Well, I do. I am a mom really in real life.
Mhm.
So I love it. I don't understand. I think because people can like they put it in the same category as like old or like mature, and that's just not the
Yeah,
case. Like, you can be
yeah.
a mom at any age.
You're
So
you're still quite young. I mean, I don't know if you want to say how old you are, but
yeah,
you're
I'm 33.
right, which is not
So
old at all.
yeah, I
But
kind of got a little head start in that in
yeah,
life.
yeah.
So, but yeah, it doesn't bother me, the MILF thing. I embrace it totally.
Right. I think some girls probably get bothered for it because when you're 33, you don't feel old. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
it's weird to like be called something that may be construed as old when mentally you're so young
Yeah.
at heart. But yeah. Anyway, well, let me just finish this off with a few quick questions. We call it quick pops here.
Uh-huh.
But first of all, what's a big sexual turn on for you? Whether it's um, a physical aspect of a guy or something that can happen during a scene, during the act of sex that really kind of puts you over the top.
Okay, so I have this thing. Is people whispering in my ear. I don't know what the hell it is. It just makes me freaking melt.
Really?
I
It,
don't know.
does it need to be dirty talk or can it just be
It can be anything.
really? And I
Yeah.
wonder if it's the sensation because sometimes when people whisper in your ear, it kind of like, I don't know if it
Yeah, like
tickles.
physically and just like the things that people have whispered in my ear before. I don't know. It's just like a total turn on. Like I guess I'll just say it. Manuel Ferreira did that to me on set, and I freaking came right then and there. I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Wow, you just came right on
Yeah.
the dot, huh? That's great. That's
Yeah.
um, is there something you've discovered about yourself sexually that maybe you didn't know, or something you may like? You kind of just named one thing, but I mean, maybe something you've done in a scene that you had
Um,
different.
I have found over the months that I've been doing this that I like a lot, like really rough sex.
Hmm.
And I get why people are not into that, because of just the consensualness and the whole cancellation thing. Like, people don't want to be canceled. I get that. But I love it. I really, really love it. I'm comfortable with a lot of that kind of stuff.
Right. When you say rough, are you talking like hair pulling, a little bit of
Hair
slap?
pulling, choking, biting, spanking, um,
Hmm.
spitting, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
And hadn't experimented with that very much before.
I
Before that.
have, but not to the extreme that I've taken it,
Yeah.
especially recently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because that has been such an issue with consent in the industry.
Yes.
How have you felt? How do you feel that's been handled, like kind of pre-scene before the camera,
Um,
when
I've
you discuss those things, or?
Yeah. So a lot of people will have cameras rolling when
Mhm.
talking about yeses and nos.
Yeah,
Um,
which is great.
and even when cameras are rolling, people are still very hesitant,
Hmm.
just because, like I said, like the cancel culture is so bad. But yeah, that's a lot of people will set up a camera and be like, okay, what are you cool with?
Yeah, yeah, that's how
Um,
be done. That's great.
yeah. So
Okay.
yeah.
Um, are there any? Do you have any like crazy, risky places you've had sex in your life? Any like kind of um,
Oh
stories?
man. Oh man. Cars, boats,
Mhm.
beach, balconies. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think.
How'd the beach work? Was that during the day, or was it at night when no
It
one
was
was?
at night. It's not ideal,
Right.
but you got to check it off your list.
Yeah. Yeah. Sand can always be an issue. You want to make
Yeah,
sure.
it's super messy.
Yeah.
So, but
But you're
it
right.
was fun.
It's a bucket list without question. Um, are you someone that you would call yourself a size queen? Does it matter? Um,
I'm not a big size queen person. I
mhm.
am cool with all different lengths, thicknesses. I am definitely not a size queen. If
Right.
it's too big, I'm not gonna lie, it's not fun.
It's going to be a struggle. Yeah.
Yeah, you feel like you're getting impaled. So, but yeah, I'm definitely not a size queen.
Okay. Um, at age 33, like some scenes you're probably working with younger guys that may be,
Hmm.
21, 24, and other scenes you've got guys that are in their late 40s, early 50s.
Hmm.
What have you found about working with different ages? Does it matter?
Uh, it's pretty much all the same.
Hmm.
I, uh, I know I shouldn't say that. I would say that the older you are, obviously, the more experience you have.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, for the most part, it's pretty much the same.
Right.
When you're in this industry, it's like you better know how to fuck.
Right. Yeah.
So
I gotta think though that a veteran like a Manuel is just so good, not just at
yeah,
the actual sex, but just the positioning and the uh,
yeah,
making it all just look really good too.
yeah. Like he gave me tips. Like he was like, make sure and Shelby Black has said this to me too. He's like, make sure your hair is not in front of you.
Hmm.
Everybody wants to see your face at all times.
Right.
So, but don't look directly at the camera and, this way and that way.
Yeah.
Manuel definitely knows what he's doing.
Right. Um, I know as we mentioned earlier, you've had a really successful run on OnlyFans too, and just those kind of platforms. What do you think goes into having success on things like that? Like, what do you have to do to run?
Definitely consistency. And you got to constantly post things to keep people's attention and to keep them on their toes. And I for me personally, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because I know some people, they get so many messages that it's impossible to answer all of them. So they got to have help.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I answer all my messages, and I will voice message people so they know
Mm.
it's me.
Oh, wow. It's a nice
So,
touch. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Any
So,
weird, crazy requests for customs?
oh my God. I was just talking to Shelby Black about this. Someone was requested that I full on go to the bathroom for them, like number two wise on camera. And I was like, first of all, I'm not going to do that. Second of all, OnlyFans doesn't allow that.
Yeah.
So, no.
You know what's funny is I asked that question quite a bit to performers, and I swear almost all of them answer that same way. There are so many guys that make that request, and it just baffles me that
I'm sure there's other sites that allow that. I think there is. Someone gave me like a chart of like all the different platforms out there and like what they allow, what they don't allow.
yeah,
And there is some, and the ones that do, I've never even heard of in my life.
yeah,
So
I don't even
good
want to.
luck if you're trying to ask that on OnlyFans.
Yeah, I don't even want to know what
Yeah.
people are sick. But anyway,
Ugh.
um, have you met? You know, we talked about how you kind of looked up to the Jenna Jamesons of the world, the Tara
Mhm.
Patricks. But I mean, maybe when it comes to people that are active right now, I mean, has anyone, I don't know, kind of taken you under their wing, or just someone that you've become friends with that's kind of, been a good mentor? Or
Yes. I'm going to give a shout out to Tanya Tate. Tanya
uh-huh.
Tate has been amazing to me. Very sweet woman, has given me advice, what to do, what not to do. I
Hmm.
really appreciate our friendship and everything that she has taught me so far. She's an amazing woman.
Yeah, you won't find many people that have anything bad to say about her. She's
Yeah,
quite
she's so
quite the
sweet.
legend in this industry. Yeah, if you have some free time and you're not being a mom, or you're not doing content, what do you like to do when you have a day off, or even a couple hours to yourself?
Shopping. I am a
Really,
shopping whore. I will shop all day, every day, whether it's online or physically in a store. I love it.
mainly for clothes, or what?
Anything, clothes, skincare products, decor for my house, seasonal decor. I'm
Mhm.
really into decorating for Christmas and Halloween and
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff. So I'll shop for anything that catches my eye. I'm going to be like, ooh, I want that.
yeah. You got a quick trigger on that purchase
Oh
button
yeah.
on the
Oh
cell
yeah.
phone. um, Last thing, I know a lot of girls, like, before they do a big scene, they won't eat a whole lot for a day or two, just so they can really feel like they're leaning out. But when you finally do get a chance to have a good meal, do you have a certain type of food you like? Are you a cook? Are you a restaurant kind of person?
Well, I'm Italian, so I love any kind of Italian food, pasta, pizza. But like if it's a weekend, I love to have a dirty martini. Like that's my
Mm,
thing.
yeah.
That's my little reward for doing a
What kind of
scene or
vodka?
doing a collab. It's so good.
What kind of vodka do you put in there?
Kettle One.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yes.
That's the best drink. I don't mess with Grey Goose. I don't. It has to be Kettle One
Kettle
Dirty.
One, because they call it a dirty vodka. So
Uh,
it's, yeah, I was raised right. My dad was in the spirits industry for 35 years.
oh wow.
So
Yeah.
he was like, hey, this is what you put in your dirty martini, okay?
I
So,
feel like for so long, like, Kettle One was like kind of regarded as the number one vodka, and then
mhm.
people started messing with Grey Goose, which I don't like at all. Tito's I can handle. I do like Tito's, but not as much as Kettle One. I think Kettle One is the best vodka still.
I feel like Goose is overrated. Belvedere's good, but
Yeah.
Belvedere's expensive. So
Mhm.
yeah.
I
So
went to a Vegas pool party over the summer and bought a bottle of Kettle One for $700. That's what they charge now at pool parties for a bottle of Kettle One in Vegas.
wait, are you serious?
Yeah. I mean, there was 10 of us, so it wasn't a big deal, but we ended up buying two. But a few years ago, a Vegas nightclub pool party where they'll charge you 400, and I hadn't been to a party like that in a few years, and now it's 700. I mean, all the
Oh
all
my
the
God.
all the
See,
liquor for that
this is why I don't go to clubs. This is
much.
why
That was
I don't do
before tips.
that.
That was before tips. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, it's crazy. I went to a Wet Republic pool party. Thank
Yep.
God I didn't have any say in the bill, but we got our own cabana, and I think the rumor was that it was around $20,000 for everything.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. I bet
Yeah.
it was, especially if you had about 20 something people in there, probably. If it was a
Oh
big,
God, that makes me nauseous. Oh,
well, it's not quite as bad when everyone's pitching in, but either way, I didn't mind. But I was just like, damn, the expensive ass bottle.
that's crazy. I can
But
think of better things to spend my money on.
yeah, I agree. Well, hey, thanks for chatting with us tonight. And, I'm really excited about you and your career. And
Oh,
it's
thank
been
you so
so,
much.
it's been fun getting to know you a little bit the past few months and looking forward to catching up with you again soon,
Yes.
Elizabeth.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It
Yeah,
was nice talking to you.
you too. Take care.
Thank you so much.